Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here as we pull out over Germany while playing Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.6. Okay, we are launching an invasion of the Shetland Islands, where the pony supposedly comes from. That's up here. I thought about maybe bypassing it. I'm not sure if we have the range to get to there, but I thought, no, we're going to go there. Main reason to bypass is, although there is a garrison, there is no port there, and we want to get our troops off. There is an airport there, which helps with air operations and things, and that's part of the reason why we want to do that. Now we're going to get ready with all of this here to go after Britain. Now, I want to maybe not quite as dramatic a start to the episode as I was thinking, but okay, let's continue this. Okay, we've won up here in Natal. Okay, basing advance. We're gonna let that. And for the moment, just looking for other 44 technologies, state technologies that would be useful. Mid-air refueling. Let's do that. And we also have propulsion advance for, I think those are for torpedoes as opposed to just propulsion. Yeah, for submarines generally. Sort of feeling coming to the end of major developments in submarines. Less and less need for them. Oh, let's do that. Big jump up. Push that down. There we go. And here we're getting those guys. Yes, we also have this fleet here. Catch it. Moving, and we're going to see if we can outflank these guys and invade into there. Radar guided bombs. That would be the Fritz X, I believe. So we're going to stop that just so that we have them. Basic levels. Enough capability. Well, disappointing we've not yet gotten. That's partially my fault, I'm sure. Better jet research going. How are we doing up here? Okay, we won. I think the reason... Oh, sorry, I know the reason why we won so fast is because there was no port. There was 0 organization level, so I could have brought in anything just about. And so there's no supply possibility here. Because the AI will not supply. It's going to harm me, of course, via air. We're going to put just basic little pillboxes. Thank you, Panzeroo, for adding those for me. There we go, some radar. Okay, carrier. Okay, now we can do carrier hangar if we want, but I don't know that we want. That's that. Now I know we're still, but is this? Oh, we've got 17 out of 17. It looks like, so we also need to stop carrier engines. I want some more armored HQs. Looks like we will be getting global military power very soon. Effect. Okay, and I'm gonna move these up just in case we have to jump up in reinforcements or something. We want to build that as quick as possible. I have a big enough army. And I'm still building garrison type units and things, so these things are almost ready to go hold up in northern India away from deep Bhutan and Nepal contained. Well, let's do some more long-range fighters. And even more regular fighters, because they're better fighters. And more naval bombers. Now, are we here yet? We're here. Okay. Well, that's out of command range anyways, and even though I was trying to move it a bit closer here, but still keep it in command range from here, we may need to create another command over in America. Okay, well, let's look into a lot of good units. What sort of HQs do they have? Okay, they got one HQ. Oh, and they also have the African Corps over there. So yeah, we're gonna remove a lot of that. Oh, here. They may join up later on. That'll be useful. I want to get normal over there. Under for bond, that could be useful. Going over some of that rough terrain. And that these guys might also be useful. Some Italian participation. Yeah, these are one of these to hold our rear. There's more good units over here. Yeah, I think we'll just. I think we have the transport space. Oh, we may not. Let's just get these guys across. Yeah, transport's fine. Oh, look at that. They got a bunch of militia type units. Well, stop your advance. I know it's bad, but you support. Just support the attack there. Okay, we have lost continental military power and gained global military power. So instead of national manpower modifier of 8%, we're now at 15. Leadership at 15 instead of 8. Organizational regain rate at 10. But because we're spread out everywhere, presumably with factories in different areas, we have a IC efficiency for production penalty of 1.5%. Alright, that's good. Of course, that means we're getting more HQs. There we go, and a little bit more. Let's come up and look at electronics. Okay, everything is 44, we're researching everything, or it's 44 or higher. Oh, we're losing down here. Okay, so let's actually pump that up a bit more. Okay. Still over 100%, but okay, and we're here. Oh no, we sent these guys. Okay, well these guys now. Well, no, we haven't got this yet. I was sort of waiting for. I didn't want them to be chewed up by that or any other raiding fleet. Or we give them money. No, we don't want your fuel. Radar guided missiles. Maybe that's more the Fritzac. I forget which would be more of a bomb and which would be more of a missile. Okay, we have this now. And what we don't have is supply to there. So we'll come up here and rebase. Now can we reach it from there? Air supply, yay! There we go. We'll keep them at least marginally supplied. They're not heavy supply requirements, especially when not operating units. And we should also be down here. Okay, you're effectively now. Pause. Okay. Well, we might as well, and do that. So, Guderian is basically theater commander, if you will. And we got Weinsberger commanding the corps, and then not sure which one of the divisional commanders here from the 3 divisions will be, but we're going to go right into their invasion, take their port, which will cut off supplies here, move to cut off the supplies. The Australian held port. Okay, well, now we have it. Attach him to the Africa Corps, which is now, oh, what are you attached to? Your Panzer Army Africa, which is coming here. Okay, let's detach Panzer Army Africa. I'm not going to rename it, but just sort of presume it's now called Panzer Army America, or Sud America. Okay, well, let's take a quick look here. They've got half-track transport. They got truck and truck. So, especially them, I want to send them, not the light division, you've got some others, but we'll send them one of these. We'll hopefully catch up to them fairly fast when they're not in combat. Get better motorization. I don't know, maybe we'll want to detach them to use them out for other sources. Okay, and terrain. Let's get a clear terrain. We got those mountains, but we're about ready to take them. Well, we've got a fair amount of mountains down this way, so we will head them this way. These guys, how fast are they? Fast? Is that because of river? Yeah, terrain is why they're doing so bad. I think we want to go north of these guys. Same with these guys. And the main fighting in Brazil is going to be down here, so. Alright. And airborne assault tactics. That's good, and we are well in the red. Yes, you may have lots and lots of energy. Stuff. and we now can supply to Natal. I always think of Natal in Africa, South Africa, but I guess there's a Natal in Brazil. Okay, yeah, Bordeaux looks like a good starting point, and to Natal. Keep supplies flowing enough into there. Should be having enough radar and stuff now. No, we don't. Now, what the hell is... Well, I guess there's a, port here. But the event that gives it to the Americans doesn't also give it radar? That's freaky. Americans loved radar. We're gonna get ready for Britain very soon, but first I wanna... Not these ships, but some of those other ships. Oh, we got American Marines here rushing back, and of course we are attacking the wrong province. Hedgehog advance, that's in that type for killing submarines. Okay, this is from some of the reading I've done a few years ago now, but submarine warfare, or anti-submarine warfare I should say, isn't always like you see it in the movies. I know you already know life isn't like you see it in the movies, so obviously. But one thing I found interesting reading about is that depending on conditions, and conditions often were fairly favorable in the Mediterranean, you would pick up a submarine fairly easy with your sonar, either active or passive, both types. Active, presume it sends out a ping of sound and then listens for it, its echo or bounce back or whatever you want to call it, and see where it bounces back from first or whatever, if there's distances. And then passive is just listening for sound, like engines running, people dropping a wrench. When you talk within a environment, sure, there's sound transmitted through the air that will transmit like through the hull of the submarine, but that's really not much and won't do. You're not really going to pick it up. I even think if people are shouting, unless they're like screaming at the top of their lungs, you're not going to pick it up with most sonars. But if you do a hard contact noise, like a wrench onto metal, that will ring out because the sound will, in sort of a more hard fashion, if you will, flow through the structure of the submarine and out. So, the passives are looking for that. But, so once you identified where you think is a submarine, and you attack it, all of the sonar is looking forward, because at the back of your ship are your engines. They're creating noise, and also it's sort of hard to mount sonar equipment back there and things. So mostly the sonar is looking, shall we say, in your forward arc. Doesn't have to be straight in front of you, but your forward arc. So you've identified where the submarine is. You go in for a depth charge run. Now, most of the time, depth charges don't sink submarines when they go off, because depth charges are only so powerful. Submarines are fairly strong, designed to hold the pressure. Now, you go, well, they sunk a bunch of submarines with depth charges. Absolutely, but that's with multiple passes. A lot of attacks. It's not just, obviously, if you get real lucky, like in the movies, you see the film of the depth charge coming down and touching the sub, starting to roll around the sub, get to the right depths, and blow up in contact. Yeah, at that point, you're sinking the sub, or blowing into a watertight compartment if one doesn't kill it. But if you're just sort of nearby, again, the shockwave goes really well through water. That's part of its design. But again, they're only so powerful. It's sort of an accumulated effect. So one pass normally doesn't kill a submarine, because you're normally not that precise. So once you, I'm showing you with my hands here while I'm talking, but I know you can't see that. Once you, so you identify where it is, you drive your ship towards it, you go over it and you roll off or shoot out to the sides of you a pattern of depth charges as you go over it, sort of bracketing and trying to cover it. And again, where you're launching the depth charges through the communications with the ship, it's not a precise science as well. I mean, they try to get good at it, I'm sure, but it's not precise. So you do that. And well, in doing so, the combination of now that you've passed over it and you're facing away from the submarine, and you're dropping depth charges, which, create a lot of sound in the water, basically means that you lose contact with your enemy submarine. You don't know where it is, except for you know where, if your identification was correct, because you can, trust me, misidentify things with sonar, and misidentify the locations and that kind of thing, especially with this early sonar. So don't come at me unless you know early sonar to correct me, because I know modern sonar stuff with subs and whatever is much more precise. But so as you lose contact, you know where it was that you believe, and you may even, depending on the type of contact, you may have even had heading and direction of the sub as you attacked it. But subs knew this and knew what, once they were coming over with the depth charges, they would often change direction radically, often, at least briefly, because often they were propellers in water make sound. And that's one thing I know modern propellers during the Cold War era, they worked to try to reduce just, the churning sound within the water, to reduce that down a lot. But that wasn't a major science. I'm not saying it wasn't a known thing, because they did sort of know it, and not that they weren't working on it, but it wasn't a major science in World War II. But so they would move slowly, because they're working on batteries. The batteries turn electrical engines, which are, if not silent, very quiet compared to like a diesel engine, and so it's sort of the propeller sound. So they would be moving slowly, trying to keep their sound down. Well, once the run went over them, they would do a burst of speed and change direction radically, and maybe change depth and other things like that. And so the destroyer would automatically lose contact of where the enemy sub was. And again, or is, I should say, because they know where it was, but they don't know where it is. They know where maybe it was going to. And so they would then swing around, often right or left, based upon they think the direction of movement of the submarine, to come back and reacquire the target. Well, both the Axis and the Allies, and some of this, there's some really good historical fiction that deals with this really well, and they know what they were talking about in the attack. And they're dealing with a British sub sort of getting away from Italian anti-submarine forces, is that if they could use two vessels instead of just one to attack, what they would do is they would have one vessel that would, they would both sort of fix and triangulate on it from two different angles, pointing towards where they believe the submarine is. One would make an attack run across it, and as the explosion's going off, that's obviously, for those moments, it's messing with the sonar of the watching sub, watching destroyer or anti-submarine vessel. But as soon as the depth charge passes over, and as soon as the friendly ship goes by, well before the friendly ship can turn around and come back, and whether they turn, in essence, right or left, port or starboard, based upon their belief is the best sign, this other one is watching, so it immediately picks up where the submarine is and where it's going. And so then the watching sub will continue to watch it, and depending upon how many depth charges, how many supply of those, location, they may take the next run at the submarine, while the other anti-sub vessel becomes the observer. So they might switch off, or depending on the motions, because they would radio each other, the other one may come back on attack run again. Um, and like I said, as you approach a submarine, your radar or your sonar is looking out in front of you. So even before you actually like come over it, it can start, because it's listening with its passive at least um, uh, sonar, start to dive and maneuver to get away from the depth charge blast. Well, the Americans developed the Hedgehog, in which what it would do is it was basically a rack of mortar bombs, more like an 81 millimeter mortar kind of thing that they would put out there, and it was forward looking, and you knew from you didn't really aim it. It was generally at least fixed in location, but you knew how far out in front of your vessel the pattern would go. And so as you were approaching, where you're getting more precise data, because you're not yet there, especially with active sonar, your 500 yards, or 200 yards, or 100 yards, or 50 yards, or whatever, away from the submarine. That's, shall we say, the more precise moment. They could launch this pattern of mortar bombs on top or in front of them while they're more clearly looking, and it would fall in a pattern that within the area a submarine couldn't avoid it, and it didn't really matter the depth. And I say that because if you're down deep enough, things fall through the water much slower. I don't know the rate than they do through the air or whatever. So yes, you can get the idea that if it's deep enough and they're moving quick enough, you may have to, lead the target a bit or something. They may be able to move out of the pattern, especially if they're deep enough. But if they're fairly shallow enough, it isn't going to really matter. And so no matter what the depth, like you have to set the correct depth for a depth charge to be close enough to really do it. They'll just fall through the water and explode on contact. Now, of course, you get eventually explosions way deep, but so it was a really good, precise attack. The Germans never had this. I wouldn't ban this from, at least, I don't know that the Germans ever had this. I'm pretty sure that by the time this was really coming out, the Italians were out of the war. It's something that the Germans, I'm sure, became aware of once it was used enough against them, and they could have figured out how to use it, but they just weren't. They didn't really have enough of a anti-submarine situation. So that's the cool Hedgehog. And so you see, and they can put it on like motor torpedo boats, and those kind of things to really bump up. And so we really, really help our anti-submarine capabilities. Okay, now, because we're no longer really needing to apply large forces here, because we are sending them elsewhere, and there's no combat here, we're going to fly these guys down here to be prepared to air supply my troops that are coming in here who don't have a port. Again, this is something that BICE players or BICE developers sometimes dislike, because they don't like giving players too many advantages over the AI. We've already won that down. That went quick. I didn't think it was going to be that quick. Well, as soon as you can, march and take that port. Well, basically we've just doomed all of these forces here once we take port and are able to hold it. Okay, submarine fire control advance. And we're just going to stop that. There we go. Now we're no longer in deficit. Territory for research. Okay, well. More bombers. Let's do some more flying boats. Well, let's come to here. Again, the fuel accept. Fuel I'm just sort of automatically rejecting because I don't want to buy fuel. Okay, well, Rommel's in the house. Okay, well, let's... I'm thinking of changing some of my... I think we're going to leave you at the port. I think we're going to start pulling the naval troops out of, well, getting ready for other actions. You're going to move fairly quickly. You're going to be one of the units sending around as well as you to... How are we looking for infrastructure? Should eventually get to be... Oh, we can't see. Okay, never mind. Some of it really should get to the point that we can't move in the jungle. Well, let's see, we're gonna maybe move you up to Natal. Just to be sort of garrison troop. Fortaleza. Light infantry, that'll be useful. Sort of, kind of. Okay. You go and pick these guys up. You, now that I think we've got, well, I don't think they're gonna come get us. We just go in. Yeah, I think we want to go south with some of that. How are we doing on fort building? Well, it's... Once we get a few more units transferred across Africa, the we could continue and, if you will, sort of an island hopping type campaign of invasion, and that may be fairly smart. We may be doing that, but I want to get a bunch of transports up here to go after the Britain, the Isle of Britain. I'm just going after the English because we're already sort of doing that. Oh, upgrades, Greek Ski Jaeger Brigade. Okay. Machine gun focused advance. Fighters, armament, machine gun focus, stop too far ahead. Let's increase this a little more instead of doing that. Oh, well, where are my Ski Jaegers? Are these... Or is it this unit here? Well, maybe if it's this unit here, I want it taken out. Jaeger Brigade? Okay. Well, especially since we can't move it, and I don't really know that it's going to be needed to defend that. Yeah, Ski Jaeger Brigade upgrade. Can be very useful for Iceland and such. The first Ski Jaeger division formed when the first Ski Jaeger Brigade was Upgraded to a division in June 44 with the additional elements from the 52nd Infantry Division. It fought south of Vitebsk, retreating through Wojciech, okay, wherever, where it suffered heavy losses. It surrendered in the Taberpitsk area at the end of the war. Some elements of it managed to surrender to the U.S. rather than Soviet forces, but they were handed over to the Soviets by the U.S. I understand, how do I put this? I understand that the Allies were very suspicious of a lot of the various Soviet peoples that fought for Germany. And you don't necessarily want a huge number of Nazis, as they may see them. And some of them were definitely Nazis. Living in your Western Europe, so you might as well give them back. But I do sort of think it's shameful how much they sent back, because a lot of them were right-wing. They bought into, some of the groups did buy into Nazis, because we definitely have volunteer elements like, you know, coming from this part of the world, but also this part of the world. They bought into the racial theories and all of that stuff, so they were Nazis. Others were more fascist-like, and they wanted that kind of thing. A bunch of others were, you know, they were czarist monarchists, or I don't know if necessarily, maybe democratic type people, but were just anti-Soviets and other sorts of things, but they gave them back. And now when you're talking about German units, and Stalin was wanting the people back too, I think, for several reasons. One, I don't think he wanted the reputation in the rest of the world that there was as big a dissident movement that wasn't just evil Nazis or evil fascists, you know. And so if these people stayed in the West, might go, oh, you know, come out enough that, oh no, we didn't love Hitler, we just hated Stalin, kind of thing. So I think there's that element to it. And so in Stalin, the paranoid man that he was, saw them, you know, as people plotting threats to to him and the Soviet Union and that kind of thing, and that they might make a core for future anti-Soviet forces if the West was going to go to war with them. So there's all those kind of issues. And also, hey, he had nice gulags around, because a lot of them were killed, but a lot more of them were, and again, I don't know numbers or anything, and I don't know if there's any good numbers anywhere, but a lot of these people were put in gulags across the Soviet Union and basically worked to death. Meaning, they may have not died soon, but they were just, you know, imprisoned for life, and their life may have been short. And so Stalin could use the manpower and that kind of thing. So Stalin wanted them for various reasons, so he pushed the West to get those people back. And then you have divisions that primarily fought in the East, or units I should say, because some aren't always divisions, that the Allies wanted returned them over to the Soviets. When there wasn't, you know, they sort of kind of get the idea that if it's like, you know, whether they're just SS units, you know, the Einsatzgruppen type peoples, or the Waffen-SS, or other sorts of, you know, like those police units or whatever, if you really have a high propensity to believe that they were likely to be criminal activities, you know, and basically anti-partisan warfare, as the Germans conducted it, was a criminal activity. So, you know, don't try to tell me it wasn't anybody, the way they did it. And not, you know, not to get into details, but, you know, they did, you know, the old, oh, well, somebody blew up the railway here. Where's the nearest village? Well, let's go shoot everybody in the village. That kind of thing. And so they did a lot of that. and did a lot of take hostages. If somebody's shot, we'll shoot 10 hostages for every person, and so they did a lot of that. And so don't, you know, their anti-partisan activity was in essence a criminal activity. Does that mean, shall we say, everybody riding on a, or even, you know, armored trains and various things, you know, guards for that, were they all doing criminal activities? No, but I think enough of them at one moment or another very well may have, you know, been ordered to and just participated in something. So they weren't necessarily cold and hard-hearted town butcherers, but things happened, and it was an ugly thing. So I sort of get that. But beyond that, something like the Ski Jaeger division, which I've never particularly heard any accusations that they were, you know, doing that kind of stuff. You know, I don't see. I think it's bad that the Allies, because it's not just the U.S. Trust me, it's not just the U.S. The U.S. agreed to it, obviously, so they're partially responsible, handing them back. So yes, we'll take this and we'll deploy these guys. Did they come up on the map, or are they in the production queue? I hope map, because I want them sooner rather than later. Nope, they're in the production queue. Hopefully they're most well or not mostly built. Because these guys can really help going after some place like Norway. Oh, they actually have a Sturmgeschützabteilung. Wow. Okay. Yeah, they can help with going after Iceland and Greenland or whatever, because if they got some garrison troops there, this snow stuff can be bloody awful to attack. Oh, let's send Rommel down this way too. Okay, even though they're not at favorable odds, they're still destroying these Brazilian units there. Not that good. Okay, we've got these guys. Not moving over the airborne at the moment. Let's put all of these though on board, and I think we're gonna go north with you, with the bulk of you. Now these guys. Okay, they're fine there. So let's head you initially up to here. Yeah, more landing craft. We base up there. Oh, we've got a bunch of those garrison detachments, and we have some transport here. Don't know if I want to use that or try to get some other, but I will use some of those guys. Well, you know, while I do this, I'll do this off camera. So we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for more great Hearts of Iron videos. And of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.